So today we're going to be talking about the 2023 current market. We're going to be looking ahead to 2024, but you don't have to take my word for it. We're going to be looking at two large jet broker professional networks that are going to give us the insights that we need, whether you're a buyer, whether you're a seller, whether you're a broker. We're going to handle it all today. But before we get started, in just a week or so, the Ultimate Jet Guide is going to be published. Next week is the soft launch of the ebook. So if you want to check it out and give us a review, it's only 99 cents. Get started Monday. You can go there now. Go.theultimatejetguide.com/pre-order. Pre-order the ebook. It'll drop on Monday. You read it next week. You leave us a review. Help us to become an Amazon bestseller. That would be fantastic. And then the week later, Monday, November 6th, the on-demand print copy is going to be live. This is the Ultimate Jet Guide specifically for buyers, brokers, and even some sellers if you want to get some insight into how to buy or sell a private jet without wasting time or losing money. So now on to, hey June, on to the meat and potatoes for today. So 2023, 2024, what do we have to look forward to? If you've been under a rock, the last 2 years in aviation, just like real estate, has been just bananas, okay? It was a seller's market. Sellers were getting offers above their asking price. Sellers were getting offers sight unseen, full funds in escrow, and it just, prices went up. And this is something we have not seen in aviation before. Truly an unprecedented occurrence where the value of an aircraft from 2019, 2020 actually appreciated in 2021 and 2022. See, typically private jets are depreciating assets, and that was not the case over the last few years. And so now we're coming off the hill, coming off the mountain. Things are changing. And let's talk a little bit more about that. So I'm going to pull up, you don't have to take, like I said, you don't have to take my word for it. I'm going to share with you a couple of different avenues for you to check out. If you're on the Instagram feed, I'm going to share. The first place we're going to go to is GLADA, the Global Licensed Aircraft Dealer Association, of which I and JetLife Aero team members are members of. GLADA, one of our leaders, Mike McCracken of Hawkeye Aviation, wrote a wonderful article for Global Air. And as you can see, if you're on the live stream on YouTube, we got that pulled up for you, so you can take a look at it there. And his article for globalair.com was, could 2023 produce the slowest market for pre-owned aircraft in a decade? A dive into the numbers shows the possibility. So I'm not going to go through this whole thing. If you want to check it out, you can check it out by going to Global Air and looking for Mike McCracken. But basically what he's showing us here is 2021, 2022 were bananas, and coming into 2023, we're at the lowest numbers in a decade. So for example, 2021, we saw 5,063 transactions in the marketplace for business jets, okay? The market numbers in 2022 were 4,461, which is high, okay? Not as high as 21, but, still high. From the data, we look back to 2019 as a reference point. So looking into 2019, we're looking at a reference point, somewhere between 3,700 and 4,100 transactions per year. So normally we're looking at roughly, let's just call it 4,000 transactions in a year. Okay, that's kind of a quote unquote normal. Now, based on the market indicators now, we are on pace to finish below. Where is it? We're on pace to finish well below that, well below 3,700 transactions. The way that he put it was in the up to the third quarter, we were looking at roughly, let's see, the average for the years 2019 is 14. We're well below. Okay, so the average for years between 2012 and 2019 was 1,400. We're well below the average. So by the time that he wrote this article, normally we should have been at 1,400 transactions. We were well below that. I think we were in like the 1,200s and below the lower comp. Yep, to get back to normal, we need a big finish. Yep. Oh, here it is, 1,291. So normally in the first 8 months of 2012, 2019, we were at 1,400 transactions. This year, we were at 1,200 transactions. Okay, the last time that we entered into the third quarter as low as 1,200 transactions, under 1,300 transactions, was 2013. So this year was the lowest first 8 months of the year that we've ever had in a decade. Okay, so what does that mean? For buyers, it just means that buyers have gotten patience, right? They've stopped in this buyer frenzy of I've got to have a jet, I've got to have it now. I'll even pay whatever you ask. I'll even pay more. So buyers are holding back. They're becoming more patient. They're becoming more savvy. Also, of course, interest rates are playing into this a little bit as well. As interest rates go up, it's slowing the spending. So what does that mean for sellers? Well, what's interesting with the sellers case is a lot of the sellers I'm talking to, number one, they don't have to sell. There's no need. They're happy. Sellers are content. If there's no pain, there's no problem, and there's nothing they're falling in love with, they're not going to do much. Secondly, they can't find a replacement. They understand that they could sell high their aircraft, but if they go into another aircraft, they're going to pay a bunch of money for it. So sellers are not super motivated either at this point. All right. And so what that does is it creates a game of chicken in the marketplace. And we're going to see that when we go into the next report. Buyers and sellers are just kind of looking at each other. Sellers are like, I don't have to sell. I don't necessarily want to sell. And buyers are like, well, I don't have to buy. I don't necessarily have to buy. So it becomes a game of chicken. And this is why, the transaction numbers have declined. And what's also interesting is when sellers bought, if you have a seller that bought in 2020, 2021, 2022, they might have paid a premium for the aircraft. So they're not going to sell at a huge loss if they don't have to. And so I even got a guy now that he bought in 2020. He put $500,000 into the aircraft that he thought was going to be a great buy. Turns out it's not a great buy. Now he's looking at, taking a big loss on it of like $200,000, $300,000. And he's just like, I can't stomach that right now. So this is the dynamic of the marketplace that we're in right now. Fourth quarter, yes, people are excited for bonus depreciation. They've got money to spend because they don't want to give it to the government. But at the same time, the sellers are like, okay, cool, pay me this amount. And it becomes a game of negotiations. It becomes a game of chicken. This is where brokers kind of come in handy because we can find those distressed sellers, that buyers, can find a good deal, or we can negotiate a deal that's fair all around. Because don't forget, a deal is not just the amount that you pay, it's also the terms of the agreement. What kind of a pre-buy are we doing? How is delivery going to work? And all of those, maybe there's a trade involved. All of those details, a broker can kind of help out. So if you do have any questions, feel free to check it out in the chat, whether we're on Instagram, if you're on YouTube, let us know. We're going to move on now from GLADA. Let's see what that does. I just stopped it on, let's see. Okay, next we're going to be going into IATA. Here we go. Let me go to share screen, and we're going to share IATA. Okay, so this is the International Aircraft Dealer Association. So I was over at NBAA. I picked up a hard copy of their third quarter market report. If you want, go to IATA.aero and you can check out their market report for yourself. Download it. Super helpful. Let's see what they have to say. So pricing projections for the next 6 months on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 meaning significant decrease, 5 meaning an increase. They're asking their network. So their network is comprised of brokers, it's comprised of mechanics, it's comprised of pilots, all people across the industry. And they're anticipating a slight decrease in pricing over the next 6 months, especially in the light jet market. Turboprops less so, mid-size and large jets a little bit. So the opinion, what this means is the opinion of brokers and professionals is that in the next 6 months, we're going to see a continuing depreciation of the assets, slight decrease of prices. And I would definitely agree with that. Next, we're going to see more inventory come to market. So that's going to be a big deal. Let me actually open up the market report for you. And let me just change your screen here. Okay, so let's take a look at the market report itself. One of the things I found interesting was there's a quote here. Okay, so this is a quote. Yep, from Adam Meredith. He's an AOPA aviation finance company, and he's a member of IATA. He said, "It's not as bad as it could be given the political and economic uncertainty. Improving inventory levels will continue to keep transactions going despite high rates and all the uncertainties. It also seems as though the percentage of buyers using finance is decreasing." So what this is doing, okay, what we're seeing is that there's more availability on the market, more inventory. Prices are softening. Okay, so at the end of the day, if a seller wants to sell, not necessarily have to. Notice I didn't say has to sell, but if a seller wants to sell, then there's going to be more pressure for them to adjust their pricing and their terms as such. So if you're a buyer, fourth quarter, there's a lot more buyers in the market. Sellers can kind of smell the blood in the water. If you can wait to the first quarter and you don't mind taking that depreciation hit, because don't forget, in 2024, we're going down to 60%. From 80 to 60%, you're going to lose a quarter of that value, 25%. From 80% to 60%, that's 20%. That's a quarter of 80%. That's where I'm getting that number from. You're going to lose a chunk of money by not doing it this year. But if you can wait, you'll have more inventory. You will have maybe better pressure for pricing. I love this quote: willingness to inventory. So some of the dealers in IATA, they inventory planes, and on a scale of 1 to 5, they're at a 3. They're stable. About half of them are like, okay, like I'll inventory a good deal. I'm not super pressed to get inventory. Whereas before, 2 years ago, like just get me inventory. I mean, dealers were just finding inventory as quickly as possible so they could turn around and put it to the market and flip it. Now it's calming down. Demand projections, we think the demand is going. They're thinking the demand is going to be 3 stable. So we're going to have buyers, we're going to have sellers, but there's not going to be this frenzy in terms of one person or one group has an advantage or not. Projections for supply, they're at a 4 out of 5. So majority of brokers think that there's going to be more inventory coming to the market. We already talked about the pricing projections. It's looking at a 2. So we're imagining prices are going to be softening. The last thing I would say, here's a good one from Johnny Foster of O'Gara Jets, great company. Overall supply build over the last 6 months, along with price dilution, has plateaued. All brokers reporting notable uptick in inquiries and activity since early August. That's true. It was dead before August. We're preparing our team and clients for a high activity in Q3, Q4. So I definitely agree with that. So like I said, this is what Q3, Q4 of 2023 is looking at. This is what the future of 2024 is looking like. Don't take my word for it. We went to the Global Licensed Aircraft Dealer Association, Mike McCracken, telling us how this year is very slow. Then we went forward with IATA, the International Aircraft Dealers Association, their Q3 market report. You can get that market report by going to iada.aero. And for me, just kind of like my 2 cents before I head out here, I call them as I see them, right? And right now, there's still a demand for aviation. Okay, we talked about it yesterday with our brokers. People still want to save time. People still want to, be in control of their schedule. People want to use aviation for their business. People want to invest in private jets. They're just done with commercial flying, and there's nothing that that compares to private aviation. So there's still a demand. Supply is increasing, which is good for buyers. And I look forward to a good Q4 and a great 2024. As I mentioned to you, I recommend you get with a reputable broker, someone you know, like, and trust. And I would love to be that guide for you. Once again, my name is Tom Lelyo. Welcome to the JetLife podcast. I am your ultimate jet guide. And if you want more information or the book, go to theultimatejetguide.com.